I'm going to be reviewing the documentary Sleeping Dog. It is produced by Jeremy Corbell, who was recently on the Benny Johnson show to promote it. And all I got to say to Benny is sometimes you need to be a little bit more selective about your guests. And the documentary basically covers UAPs, unidentified anonymous phenomena, which is the new term for UFO, unidentified flying object. But it basically means the same thing. It means an object is observed and they can't readily identify what it is. It doesn't mean little green men from Uranus or anywhere else for that matter. And a lot of times, these things are easily explained away. Weather balloons, drones, atmospheric phenomena. Just give it some time. And we're actually going to, at the end of this video, debunk one in real time. Anyways, the documentary's first 16 minutes is more of a biopic. I learned more about Jeremy Corbell than I ever needed to learn. And honestly, he reminds me of a theater kid. He is a journalist in the same way that Katy Perry is an astronaut, in my opinion. Anyways, after the first 16 minutes, we finally get to him meeting the first main person he interviews. And this is in 2012, and the individual's name is John Lear. If you're not familiar, John Lear was a famous aviator. He set several records when he was flying. He also flew cargo planes for the CIA during the Vietnam War. And equally, if not more famous, is his father, Bill Lear, who is the Learjet magnet. So, we're talking about a heavily famous family in aviation. Anyways, Jeremy starts interviewing Bob Lear. And I don't know any other way to put it, but Bob Lear starts saying some really, really far out stuff. At one point, he claims that the moon was built at Jupiter 20 billion years ago and then drug all the way to Earth orbit. And there are aliens on there whose job is to guard us humans and to make sure we never leave Earth. And they have the capability to make us believe things that didn't happen, to make us forget things, to basically totally delude us into whatever they want us to believe. And all I have to say to that is,
fuck.
Because the Earth and the solar system is only about 4.5 billion years old. They've done multiple tests, testing meteorites, testing elements in the Earth's surface. Everything leads to the same conclusion, that the Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years old. The other thing that they believe universally is that the moon was created by a collision with an object in space called Theta. Theta could have been an asteroid or a large comet. It collided with Earth shortly after the Earth was formed, and the result is the moon. In addition, the universe itself is only about 13.8 billion years old. Again, numerous experiments, tests have verified this. These tests often cross over, and the final computations all come out to the same number within 100 million years. 13.8 billion, give or take 100 million. Considering the large numbers we're dealing with, that is some very accurate numbers. And it's been accepted that way since the 1950s. Bob Lear's hypothesis has one major hole in it, and here's that hole. If the aliens can make us believe that the Earth is only 4.5 billion years old and the universe is only 13.8 billion years old, when in actuality is 20 billion years plus, then why are they allowing him to know the truth? Why aren't they just going down, zapping his brain, and making him forget all this? It seems like a simple solution, because he's a leak, if he's right. Otherwise, he's just, or was, he died in 2022. I'm trying to be nice here, but honestly, this just doesn't make any sense from a logical standpoint. And a lot of the times that's what happens when you're dealing with these conspiracy theories, is when you apply just a little bit of logic, the theories fall apart because they're not based in logic. The next person we meet is Lou Baldwin. In the UFO community, he's known as Sleeper. He's written several books on interviewing aliens. We just went from weird to completely fucked up. The problem with this is quite obvious. He claims to have interviewed aliens, yet he can produce nothing to prove it. No pictures, no video, no samples of skin, DNA, nothing. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Nada. It might as well be just works of fiction that he's trying to pass off as factual. But it's just incredibly bad at this point that I've now met two people during this documentary, and neither one of them are in the least bit credible at all. I mean, it's just crazy. And then the next person we meet is Edgar Mitchell. Actually, let me rephrase that. Captain Edgar Mitchell. For those of you who are not familiar, Edgar Mitchell, again, Captain Edgar Mitchell, was the sixth person to set foot on the moon. Now, he makes some interesting claims. He actually believes in UFOs. However, in 2014, he spoke to Ask Men, and he said he had never seen a UFO, that no one had ever threatened him over his claims regarding UFOs, and that any statements about the covering up of UFOs being a worldwide cabal was just speculation on his part. And then in 2015, Mitchell said in an interview with the Daily Mirror that extraterrestrials had been attempting to keep us from going to war with Russia and help create peace on Earth. He also said that White Sands was a testing ground for atomic weapons, and that's what the extraterrestrials were interested in. They wanted to know our military capabilities. We go a little bit further back to 2008 on Fox News. Mitchell clarified that his comments did not involve NASA, all these claims about aliens, but quoted unnamed sources, since deceased, how convenient, at Roswell who confided to him that the Roswell incident did involve an alien aircraft. Mitchell also claims to have subsequently received confirmation from an unnamed intelligence officer at the Pentagon. Again, these are claims without substantiation. Give you an example. I have a 12-inch penis. It's a claim. You can't disprove it. Even if I was to pull a Gavin McGinnis and whip it out on this stream, you wouldn't be able to definitely prove me wrong. I could have 10 inches. I could have 13 inches. You wouldn't be able to tell simply by looking at this. So, my claim is just as good as Edgar Mitchell's when it comes to that. I do like the fact that he at least admits that this is all anecdotal, it's third-party information, and he really can provide no concrete evidence to support his allegations. At least he's willing to admit that. The next guy that we meet, and this is one of the big ones in the UFO community, it's Bob Lazar. And Lazar claimed to work for the Air Force at Area 51. However, there is no proof that he was actually ever at Area 51. What there is proof of is that Lazar was convicted in 1990 for his involvement in a Nevada prostitution ring, and his company was sentenced to probation in 2006 for violating laws prohibiting the sale of chemicals across state lines. And his company's name is United Nuclear Scientific Equipment and Supplies. So what in God's name was he transporting chemical-wise across state lines? I'm even afraid to ask. But I'm not even going to go into what Bob Lazar claimed because, I mean, most of it he claims he was at Area 51. Yet he can produce no evidence. Nobody has any records of Bob Lazar. Anyone named Robert Scott Lazar, that's his real name, ever being at Area 51. I don't even know if he was in the Air Force. So, again, it's completely unsubstantiated. The only thing that's substantiated is that he's a criminal. And I have a real hard time believing criminals. This finally gets us to the last guy that we meet during the show, and that is George Knapp. George Knapp was a television personality. He did interviews. He co-hosted the UFO-focused Weaponized podcast alongside Jeremy Corbell. The problem is most of his information when it comes to UFOs and UAPs, they all came from either John Lear or Bob Lazar. He conducted a lot of interviews with Lazar. He did some stuff in November of '89. It got some traction. He did some more stuff in 1990. He interviewed Bill Cooper alongside Lear in '89. And he was also critical of Cooper's claims. That's kind of interesting. And he ended up being mocked by his fellow fellow journalists in Las Vegas because he was willing to listen to all this UFO claimants and to interview them and to give them time on his television show. So, I mean, here we are. We've now gone through 5 people. These are the main 5 people. I mean, there's some testimony that is cut in at various times. And sometimes you see Jeremy Corbell in the background. I think that's why he specifically shows these congressional testimonies regarding UAPs and aliens. Again, these are just claims. And before you say, well, they're under oath, nobody's lied under oath before, right? Nobody's lied to Congress before, right? Yeah, exactly. The final thing that the documentary covers is, and this is such a trope, he goes out, he has a conversation with Knapp, and they're basically discussing, well, should we release all this information? They also discuss that their lives have been threatened over and over again during the times that they're investigating this stuff and they're talking about it. Okay, well, first of all, welcome to the internet. Everybody on the internet has been threatened at one time or another. I've been threatened. I take it with a grain of salt. People don't like what I say. They say stupid shit back, kind of escalates, and then they threaten to take me out. Do I seem scared? Let me tell you the truth. The CIA and the FBI are not going to call you and threaten to delete you. You are simply just going to delete one day without warning. They ain't going to give you a heads up. That's how they operate. It's just like the IRS isn't going to call you to tell you they're coming to arrest you for tax fraud. They're just going to show up at your door, put you in cuffs, and haul you away. The cops ain't going to tell you, well, maybe the cops will. All right. Cops will give you a chance to surrender. The IRS does not. The government does not. I have a little bit of experience in pest control. They ain't going to call you. They ain't going to threaten you. If they think you're a problem, you're just going to delete. And I really hope YouTube doesn't have a fit over this language, but it's the truth. So they're like lamenting they've been getting threats and all this stuff. But Jeremy finally decides that he is going to start releasing the information. So he goes out into the middle of nowhere, does some pacing, whips out a shovel, grabs some water, digs a hole, and digs up this little metal tackle box or metal box. He goes and he opens up this little metal box somewhere, and inside is a flash drive, and I don't know, it looked like an older video camera. Anyways, he puts the flash drive in, and there are just a humongous amount of files on this flash drive. They've all got names. I'm not going to go into it. I don't know really what to think of all this. Supposedly, it's all the evidence he's gathered since, I don't know, 2012, earlier than that. And anyways, he picks one particular file, one video file, and he downloads it to his laptop. And next he is on NBC. And he's showing a supposed UAP in 2020 that was either over Afghanistan or Pakistan. It's kind of hard to tell. And NBC runs this, and they talk to him for a bit, and then the documentary ends. But unfortunately, that's not where the story ends. You see, I looked at it, the video, and I thought, this looks really weird. So I thought I'd go online and see if I could find somebody else who thought it looked really weird too. And sure enough, almost immediately, I came across this video. So I'm going to play it now.
Release, I just want to show you what it is. Okay, look guys, I don't want to waste your time. I believe this is the sun reflecting off the camera lens of the FLIR camera, and I'm going to prove it right here. Okay, that black dot you see up top, that is the sun or the moon, either way, doesn't matter. It's something reflecting. You see when the camera moves, the object moves, and it's a classic lens reflection. That's it. Took me 5, maybe 8, 9, 10 minutes to debunk this, but I guarantee you this will be on Fox News, CNN, and all over the UFO circuit of these people claiming it's a UFO. All right, so look, let's get into the video. More details to come. We're going to break this thing down. Thank you for joining us, and here we go. All right, so let's just go through it together. And by the way, I think I've already debunked this, and I think I already know what's going on here.
By the way, this is the exact conclusion that I'd come to. I was looking at the sun or the moon reflecting off a lens. They basically had highlighted it, magnified it, and he's going to go into it a little bit more. He's going to show you exactly what happened here. This guy, by the way, is not an apologist. He's not on my side. He's actually on the side of UFOs. This guy is a believer. So for him to come out and say this is bullshit is exactly what I was looking for. It wouldn't weigh as much as if I found someone who doesn't believe to debunk it. But I've got somebody here who actually believes in UFOs. He believes in little green men from Uranus. And he is totally destroying this video.
Now, remember Jeremy Corbell used this weird measurement of time. He called it UTC. And I thought that was kind of odd because it was 11, and that's incredibly important because is this daytime? Is this nighttime? Because now the FLIR camera can make daytime look like nighttime look like daytime, etc. Okay, that's just important to remember. All right, you'll see this object come down kind of left to right, do this little weeble wobble maneuver through the clouds, and it goes off to the northwest. Now, another thing I noticed, whenever the object moves, okay, the camera seems to be panning. Now, what have we learned from my many NASA videos? Okay, the object needs to move independently. Okay, so it's like when you have a glare on your cell phone and you're recording like a video, and when you move your camera, the glare moves, right? We've all done it, trying to get the sun out of the shot, things like that. And that's exactly what I think is happening here, okay? That is the sun up there, and when the camera pans to the right,
that's perfect right there. He's perfectly demonstrating what's going on. He's explaining it very well. Like I said, it was the same thing I had when I was watching the video during the documentary. It was the same gut reaction I had. I hope I'm trying to let this run. I know fair usage. I hope this guy doesn't get mad. I kind of want him to talk and explain all this. I don't want this coming out of my mouth. I want it coming out of somebody else's mouth. So we're going to continue on.
The object goes along with it. When the camera stops, the object stops. Now, of course, look, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Also, look at this jump cut right here. You'll notice that for whatever reason, Corbell or whomever put in this edit right there, and that's always a red flag for me. Anytime I see an edit in these videos, I immediately get, my spidey senses start to tingle, right?
That little counter up, that green counter, you see how it jumps? It's in one spot 1 second, and then it's totally different spot in another second. that means that something was cut out. It was edited. And when you edit something, that means you're hiding something. We'll never find out what they were hiding, but they were definitely hiding something. And like he said, you immediately click X to doubt. And I'm going to continue on.
Why? Just give us the untouched, unedited file and we'll do all the editing. So that was another red flag. And like I said, I don't like that timestamp. It's almost like he's trying to hide information. Was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Because that's a big deal. Because if it was daytime, it would make a big difference in how we investigate and kind of dissect this video. So I think that's why he left that part out. Okay, but I think that's probably the sun up there. It could be the moon. Either way, doesn't matter. I think it's reflecting off the camera lens, and they've turned up the contrast and made it look like this, ginormous black disc flying through the clouds. That is my honest opinion. I don't know if anyone else has come up, with this conclusion, but that's what I think it is. So now, what I find probably more interesting are these weird, like, metallic orbs in the clouds. I was really kind of focused on that. Like, forget about this black blob. Like, what are all these little metallic orbs and light sources kind of floating around the video? And I haven't heard hardly anyone talk about that. So, look, in my opinion, up top, that's the sun, and it's reflecting. All right, let's start out by just reading this quick post by Jeremy Corbell.
I'm going to stop it because it kind of cuts off there. I don't think you can see it on my screen the whole way. Basically, anyways, he's done with the video as far as examining the so-called UAP, and I completely concur with his conclusion. It is almost undoubtedly the sun reflecting off the camera. There's just way too much inconsistency. The object only moves when the camera moves. That is a stationary object. The sun or the moon looks pretty much stationary in the sky. The fact that he doesn't give us the time of day or anything like that is further proof he's trying to hide something. I mean, you can figure out, I guess you could figure out what UTC is. It's Greenwich Mean Time. I don't know why he just didn't say what the local time was. I mean, I guess you can figure out the math there. But I was extremely unimpressed with this. I thought it actually did more damage than good as far as the UFO community is concerned. It makes things look really bad on many levels. These people don't seem reliable. They don't seem sane. Like I said, he's not a journalist. He's a theater kid. If you want to watch the video or the documentary, I'll link it. I'll also link this video in the comments. You're going to, like I said, you're going to have to pay to see the documentary. It's on YouTube. It's like $15 and $20 if you want the high grade. I don't recommend getting the high grade at all. I don't think it helps at all. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend watching this at all. I'm sorry I did. This was a huge nothing burger. The original release of files I thought was more interesting than this documentary. He claims at one point that this video is the tip of the iceberg. Well, the iceberg is sinking because this was nothing. It was a fraud. It was easily explained away. And that's probably all I got to say about this. Other than I'm extremely disappointed in Benny Johnson. I don't know why you plugged this guy, Benny. He's basically, in my opinion, a charlatan. He's not shown me anything. This was supposed to be his big opus day of presenting evidence, and he presented nothing. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. And like my father told me when I was 18 years old, the free video's over. Get out.